All right. Good morning. And I thought we would do a little bit of studying of what Rabbi Steinsaltz of blessed memory wrote about Yom Kippur. And in particular, he divides tshuva into three different levels. And I thought we would sort of read through his description of what we should be focused on during Yom Kippur. And it comes from this book, which is, well, I don't know if you can see it. I got glorious sunlight shining through my window. Change and renewal, the essence of the Jewish holidays, festivals, and days of remembrance. It's Rabbi Steinsaltz's compendium on the meanings of the holidays. So I'll put it on the screen, those who want to follow along. And here we go. We are going to make our way a little bit through if you can see the screen, the three levels of tshuva. So if you can see on the bottom, is that big enough for you, Eric?
Take it a little. Wait. A little bigger, just a little.
Just for you, we can make it a lot bigger.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, we're good.
A lot of bigger.
Okay.
Okay.
It's on an iPhone instead of a computer, so it's a
Ah, that's why. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to sort of guide us through. So again, we want to just focus a little bit on what we're supposed to be working on and doing and focused on these last couple of days. Last couple of days of Aseret Yemei Tshuva, the 10 days of repentance. So Rabbi Steinsaltz opens up by saying that tshuva is not a one-step process, but it's a path on which there are many levels and stages. And we saw that when we were studying Rav Kook over the last month, and of course, Maimonides' Hilchot Tshuva. So he divides them into three steps. On the first level of tshuva, a person, or I should say, he takes the three levels and compares them to the mystical idea that we have three levels of our soul, or three different types of soul, depending how you understand them: the nefesh, ruach, and neshama. And he sort of divides tshuva that we have a tshuva focused on nefesh, a tshuva focused on ruach, and a tshuva focused on neshama. So the first level of tshuva, a person rectifies their transgressions they committed by correcting our deeds. This is the most basic, right? It's what he says, it's sort of like acute treatment when someone has injured themselves, right? It's taking care of a wound. It's any sort of basic surface stuff, right? That this is nefesh. Nefesh, which is sort of our base soul. When we do tshuva, the first thing we have to do is just like correct any wrongs that we did. Right? It's pretty clear, right? We messed up, we got to fix it. Right? But what he's going to say is that tshuva is more than just about correcting sort of that, doing more than just the basics of correcting that which we messed up, that we have to do more. And this is where we get to the second level. The second level, higher than the level of just correcting deeds, is that of rectifying our thoughts. Even when a person has reached perfection from the standpoint of one's deeds, even after one has done what needs to be done and refrained from doing what we're not supposed to do, right? The question is, what is a person thinking? What are his traits? What way, these are the questions that are on the second level, which he connects with the level of the soul known as Ruach. When a person corrects their thoughts as well as their actions, when a person restores their trends of thought to the proper place, then we originate to the human spirit, or the true human spirit. What do you think? Do people agree that there's a difference between correcting an action, repairing a mistake you did, and sort of focusing on our own thought processes and our character traits? Are those two different things?
they are two different things, but what I thought of is, first of all, I got to recognize the things that are wrong before you can correct them. I think that comes before the first level. That is acknowledging the things that are wrong. I guess more of a hard, did this thing wrong, as opposed to when you get into thought, that gets a little less concrete. But first, it's the recognition of what was done wrong, correcting those things. That's essentially level one, then going beyond. I think when you get into thought, it's a desire to not repeat the wrongs.
So that's your category too. Yeah. Go ahead, Judy.
I think from what I understand, the second one requires knowledge or learning about what the mistake what the mistake is. I mean, if you don't know the rule or the law or so on, then it requires knowledge to be able to correct it, I think.
So I think, so what you're both saying is correct, right? Steinsaltz is sort of compressing a lot of steps that we normally talk about, right? That Maimonides lays out all the steps to, there's 5 steps to tshuva, and another person has 12 steps to tshuva, right? He's compressing them all really into one step, right? Correcting any mistakes or wrong actions is one, right? He's just saying that's one. And as you said, it's recognition of the mistakes, it's admitting them, right? It's seeking forgiveness, and it's correcting them, right? And then the same thing, the question is, if let's say level 2, right, we have to identify what are our character traits, right? What are character traits that we need to work on? What are the ideal character traits that we should aspire to, right? Right, those are all sort of different gradations and levels and part of the process, where Steinsaltz is really just saying, work on your actions, work on your thoughts. Agreed?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, right. And as you said, right, there's a question that let me ask again. Do you like the fact, does it speak to you that he's separating out specific acts and mistakes that we need to correct from the fact that we also need to do our work on our character and our sort of inside thoughts?
Yeah, I do. I think that changing thoughts is very important. And if we haven't learned about it, then how can we improve?
Yeah, I do too. Actually, I think it's helpful to have this as a separation. That there are definitely specific things that we've done in the past year that we need to rectify. There are actions and words and, mistakes that we need to just plain fix. And there's the general idea, this larger idea of tshuva, right? So he says there's the baseline tshuva is whatever we did wrong, we need to fix. Second level tshuva, if we're going to elevate ourselves to the next level, it's not just whatever harm we did, we need to repair, but also we have to work on ourselves, on our thought processes, on our personality, on our instincts, on our natural intentions, and just who we are as a person. Okay, so now let's go to level 3.
So that second one is a little tougher than the first one. The first one is pretty clear how one. Second one is much less concrete, and I guess if you achieve the second one, then maybe more likely you wouldn't repeat things, more concrete mistakes you made in the first level.
Exactly.
That which I think you're trying to get to that.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. And he talks about, we didn't read it, but he actually writes here, right, that this is definitely a harder task of tshuva, and that you need to have a readiness for introspection, to listen to criticism, right? Right? This is not an easy thing to do. And that's what the second level is. Now the third level, right? Just to read a little bit, right? This is now rectification. If we're going on the soul level, Ruach was number one. Sorry, Nefesh was number one, was the baseline. Ruach was this deeper one. And now we're onto Neshama. Here we're not talking about return to a former pattern. Now, no matter how perfect that existed, this is the level that transcends anything that existed beforehand. What constitutes rectification of the neshama? The nefesh can sin, our ruach can become impure, but the neshama always remains pure, for we have a neshama tehora. The level of neshama in a person is a separate level, separate not only from our physical being, but also from our spiritual being. According to the Jewish conception, the spiritual and physical are not essentially distinct from one another. The spiritual is not essentially better or holier than the material. Just as the material can do wrong, so can the spiritual. In contrast to both, the material and the spiritual stands the holy, which is separate and distinct in essence from every other reality. So just to pause for a second, he's saying here that implanted within each of us, right, we have some part of our being, some level of our soul that's always pure and holy, right? He's saying up until now, our actions can become tainted, our character can become tainted, right? And that we have to strive to cleanse, perfect, rectify them, reset them, right? Reorient ourselves, making good choices and better choices every single time. But there's something inside of us that can never be tainted. Okay. While the soul itself is pure, it may happen that the soul and man are separated. The soul is found in one place and a person, a man, is found in another. In such a case, the tshuva of the neshama is its return to a person. Man, Adam, sorry, I'm being gendered here. Man, Adam, who on the one hand was created created from earth, Adamah, and the other hand is epitomized to be like God, right, attains through the joining of body and soul an overall perfection that surpasses the perfection of each one of one's components alone. This level of tshuva is the level of a person as envisioned in divine thought, not as he is and not as pure as he was, but as God wants to see him and fulfills the original aim. Preceding levels of tshuva merely prepare the groundwork so the neshama can be returned to him. All right, what do you think this is saying? It's pretty high.
Sounds like the neshama in this description is a level of perfection that is very hard to attain. But that doesn't get tainted by anything one does in the other levels. It's there, but it's not part of us. And this little, well abstract for me, but I see it the way it seems to be described as tshuva. I mean, the neshama stays the same. It's not tainted by anything. As the merge of the ideal from the ideal and the actual. Hard to do.
Right. So my reading of this is that, right, within us there is something that is authentically us, wholly given to us by God, but it's not something that we automatically access. It's something that it takes work to uncover or attach ourselves to, or connect to. And that it can only be done once we do tshuva for our baseline, right? We sort of like perfect our actions. When we work on our character and our thoughts and our choices. Only when those two sort of things are mastered, then we sort of like a video game where then you get to the third level, right? Then we have the opportunity, the possibility to connect with this sort of most authentic, highest level self that was always inside of us, but we haven't accessed yet. And that's sort of what he's going to say. Here. So it's the story is told that the Kotzker Rebbe asked his disciples, where does God reside? They, of course, answered, God resides everywhere. He responded, not so. God resides wherever a person lets God in. The same applies to the holy neshama. In order for it to reside in a person, one must make room for it first. In addition, one must find the neshama, and the neshama is only to be found not outside but inside. One who roams in all sorts of places so as to generate experiences will not find their neshama there. The neshama is found in the depths when a person digs within one's own being, searching for the true I. After one divests oneself from the external experiences, removes all the husks, a bond of near identity is formed between the neshama, a person's personal I, and God. All right, what do you think? I know it's abstract, sorry. Yeah, Eric? Yeah.
It's quite abstract, and I come from more concrete
Yeah.
distances. I'm an engineer, so what you said makes sense. Trying to get to this point in our lives, that's the tough part. That's the tough one.
Yeah, so
Hopefully,
yeah, go ahead, Judy.
sorry. Hopefully he follows up with more concrete examples, maybe.
That is an aspiration. How about that? Yeah, not a lot of concrete here, but I think it's sort of what I said before, that number one, this is mystical, so it's all sort of abstract from the beginning, right? But what he's saying is that tshuva works on three levels, and that we're not always going to. The third level is aspirational, right? Level one is. I'm going to stop the share for a second, right? If you want to see me, hey Eric. Level one of tshuva is, right, what we're supposed to still be focused on as we're approaching Yom Kippur is going through our list, whoever we hurt, whatever we did wrong, whatever we can repair, that is the first thing that we can do. Number one is repairing any mistakes, any misdeeds, any actions that we have the ability to change or to say we're sorry or to rectify. We have to work on that. Number two is who we are. Our character, our character, our thoughts, our values, where we get tzedakah, where we spend our time, who we encircle ourselves with. That's sort of level two, right? That's what he defines as ruach, as spirit, right? It's recasting ourselves as what type of person we're going to be. So it's rectifying the actions we do, recasting ourselves for the type of person we are, level 3. This is the highest level, and perhaps, this is what to focus on Yom Kippur when we're fasting, when we're really, focused on ourselves, looking into ourselves during the 25 hours of Yom Kippur, is that there is something inside of us that we may not have accessed yet, right? Something that God implanted within us that can help us even get a little bit higher and a little bit better. There's something innately pure in ourselves that we may not have touched yet, that it's unable for us to, to sort of turn to bad, and that how can we connect with it? So that's sort of what he's saying. Let me look through. I know Judy and Eric, you're right. Like, he doesn't give a concrete example. Let me just see if he does one.
So I have a question. Does he believe common men can reach the third level, or only tzaddikim and so on?
So he said you need to do the other two first. Right. So how many people are actually how many people are actually working on themselves to the point that they really like perfect their character traits? What do you think? There's a book. You know what? Maybe I'm being too hard on us. Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote a book, Man in Search of God. And do you know that then there's an opposite book? It's basically God in Search of Man. It's a little different title. And the idea is that Abraham Joshua Heschel, the Jewish philosopher, says is that throughout time, right, our goal in life is to seek out God, to find God in our world. And God actually, what is we always ask for, like, what is God doing now? God created the world, God created us. What's God doing? Sort of the rest of God's time, right? So what Abraham Joshua Heschel says is God is actually looking for us, right? What does that mean? Can God not see us? So, right, the idea is God is looking for the best within us. And that's what we're striving for. And I think that's what Steinsaltz is saying here, is that on days like Yom Kippur, when we have the time to step back, that we actually, we have to strive to be the type of person that God is looking for. Yes, God is there when we're in the dreck, when we're struggling, or when we've fallen off the cart, when we're falling in hard times, when we're dealing with real messiness and ugliness. God is there, right? But God also wants us to elevate ourselves and to be there as well. And this is what Steinsaltz says. When a person searches for God as they search for the one, for a person that we want to love, we'll ultimately find God within ourselves. We'll discover that the rock of my heart and my portion forever is God. When the essence of my heart is my soul, God is found there too. Right? That God has always been within us. And that's our goal during these holidays, is to sort of find the true self, find who we always were meant to be. That tshuva is the ultimate goal, to find, it's to access that like piece of God that's within us that we don't always access, that we don't always find, and that's going to help us be a better person. So that sort of was the essence of what I wanted to share today. It's a little high level. As I say, it's aspirational, and the truth is, this isn't easy. If it was easy, we would all be tzaddikim, right, Judy?
Right. You know what? My only problem with this is, why reserve it for just one day for Yom Kippur? We should be working on our character and so on every day of the year. So I'm not following this at all.
We do it every day. We do it every day. What's the first prayer that we say in the morning?
Well, I say Modani,
Okay, what's it mean?
that God restored in me the neshama, the soul, I guess.
Yeah. And what type of soul did God restore in you?
I don't know, a better one than I had yesterday, maybe, hopefully.
Well, right, if we go by Steinsaltz's definition, right, we have, remember, 3 levels of our soul. We have nefesh, which is the base. That's just our actions. We have ruach, which is our thoughts and our character. And we have nefesh, which can never be tarnished, can never be affected by bad choices. Neshama. Neshama can never be affected by bad choices. Neshama is pure. Neshama is the essence. Every single morning when we wake up, right, the neshama is there. Right? It's not just Yom Kippur, right? Every single morning we have the opportunity, the push, right, to connect with that pure soul that God has put in us, right? And then that's sort of how we know that we can access it. So, Judy, why is it just one day a year? Because this is hard work. It's hard work, right? Elul is 40 days, right? The prep for today really has been 40 days already, right? It's not just Yom Kippur. Right? So I want to, my time is short today, so I'm going to wrap up if that's okay. Then we're going to get back to some more, more different type of text and more study after Sukkot and Simchat Torah. But my hope and my prayer for each of you as we begin Kol Nidre in just a day and a half is that we are able to connect with each levels of our soul and to find our authentic selves, who we are, who God meant us to be, and who we strive to be every single day. Should have a good day, should have a Gamar Chatima Tova, that we should be inscribed and sealed for a good year of health and happiness, joy, and spirit. Thanks for learning with me.